Hello, my name is Bobby, and I am an addict. Most people aren't aware of the effects that the internet has on our behavior and how the internet rewires our brain much the same way as an addicted drug user. Addiction to both the internet and drug use shows impressive similarities in brain activity and behavior. So it's my claim here today that internet addiction is like drug addiction. In an article titled, "Is the Web Driving Us Mad?" From Newsweek magazine, there is a journalist named Tony DeCouple, and he talks about some interesting facts, statistics, and examples of my claim, and that's the internet addiction is indeed like that of drug addiction. In this article, and according to Stanford University School of Medicine, a 200-person study was conducted of iPhone habits and behavior. In this study, 1 in 10 were found to be fully addicted to their iPhones. 6% felt some level of compulsion to their iPhones, and 3% simply wouldn't let anybody touch their iPhone. Doesn't surprise me. I see a lot of people with their faces buried in their iPhones with there's just really no awareness, no consideration to their surroundings. So, and it's my belief that the internet, without the internet, these devices wouldn't have so much power over us. Secondly, I want to share some pretty interesting factual information. It might be of some interest to you. It might kind of shock you here. The brain of internet addicts, when medically scanned, looks like the brains of drug and alcohol addicts. Another study that was done, the brain's gray matter shrinks 10 to 20%. Might ask, what is this gray matter? It just happens to be the stuff that controls your memory, your speech, and your motor functions. So pretty important. And the more you use the internet and become addicted to it, the more your brain atrophies. So it's pretty incredible. All this comes from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and they collect census and psychiatric hospital statistics. And this is also published by the American Psychiatric Association, who provides standard criteria for classification of mental disorders. So pretty credible there. Lastly, to help support my claim, I'd like to quote some very important people related to the field about my claim. Dr. Elias Aboujaoud, who is a psychiatrist at the Stanford University School of Medicine, and who is also a medical director of the Obsessive Compulsive Disorder Clinic, he says, and I quote, "I've seen plenty of patients who have no history of addictive behavior or substance abuse of any kind become addicted via the internet and these other technologies. There's just something about the medium that's addictive," end quote. Peter Wybrow, who's the director of the Semel Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior at UCLA, argues that, and I quote, this is pretty interesting, "the computer is like electronic cocaine," end quote. In conclusion, it's my claim that the internet addiction and its likeness to drug addiction is alive and thriving here today. And I think we as users need to stop, look around, and look away from this addiction that is the internet. Now, I'm not suggesting you guys stop using the internet, but what I do ask is, ask yourselves, who's in control, you or the net? Thank you.
Well, I don't think there's a lot of question that you have done a good job here with the opening where you use the analogy to addictive behavior. You've got a clear statement of what your goal is. You're very consistent about citing the type of information you want me to be giving you credit for. I appreciate that. That always helps make it easy to make sure that it fits in those categories, and I thought everything that you did on that fit in those categories. It was a little vague on the first citation because it basically sounds like you're going to get all your information from one source, and then later on it sounds like it's coming from different sources. I was a little bit confused because you had that brain study, you're presenting that information, and you give the citation after you've presented the information. That's what we call a post citation, and it's a little confusing to do that sometimes because it's often hard to tell where your information starts. You know, where's my claim, where's my information, and what's the supporting information. But when you give the source citation, we know immediately what follows is what came from that source. So it's always a little bit clearer to do it that way. That's just a minor thing, and it's not something that we talked about before, so I wouldn't worry about it right now. Like I said, I thought you did a very good job of citing all the information, and it's developed well, and you presented in a good way. I like the analogy that you have, and you talk about, you know, electronic cocaine. That sounds like a title of a book or a song, you know.
I think Eric Clapton might have.
No, it sounds like a Prince song, you know. She drank electronic cocaine, the kind you get at the IMAX store, the Apple store. That's it, the Apple store. All right, so something like that. And I like the conclusion. You know, kind of asking that question: who's in control?